everybody, it's Doug here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our playthrough of Middara. Yeah, we're into the I guess the third or fourth scenario or portion of this scenario of the MAST, where we are being tested to see if we can become members of society in the land of Etheria, I think is what's called. I'm sorry, Middara. And we are going to we're going through this set of scenarios that test our characters Rook, Nightingale, Remy, and Zeke to see where they stand in this. We're keeping track of the score. Currently we're at 32 points. We're going to see if that continues to be a good thing for us and see what our score does for us in the end. But we just finished defeating a series of monsters. We're about to go into the second night. We were disrupted in the evening and had to fight off some critters. One of them being really tough, called a Gavaden, and I'm still not sure how to pronounce it. Heard someone say that the G is actually more like a J. It's like a French word, but then I heard somebody more official say Gavaden or something. Actually, it's in the app, I believe, when I was playing the app. So it's hard to say what they're called. I'm a little concerned about that. It's not a big deal. But anyway, we're going to play the story from the app as we progress in this. Now we're going into the second night, and at that point we're going to have something a little different happen. So it's going to be kind of cool. If I did make any mistakes in the last one, I apologize. I probably did. I think this game has a lot to keep track of, and it's very, very, especially with 4 players. Now there is a variant where you can play with less than 4 players if you'd like to see that. I know Adam at Rolling Solo, I think, just started his playthrough of the adventure mode using 2 characters and using that variant where you have these special companion cards that go with it. So you might want to check that out. That's Adam Smith, Rolling Solo. And also I think Bernd at Meet Me at the Table still playing his, and he's a bit ahead of mine, so it's interesting to see how it plays out a little different. And if you're not interested in this, by all means, please check out my latest video on Wildermyth, a great little turn-based PC RPG legacy type game that reminds me a lot of a tabletop like dungeon crawler with legacy elements to it. It's very cool, and by all means check that out. Also follow, like, subscribe, and let's get right into it right now with the second night.
The second night. Tonight they had chosen a much smaller chamber off of what they took for the main passageway. It was far smaller than the room they'd chosen the night before, but it only had 1 entrance, so at least it would be easy to keep watch. Nightingale was put on scouting duty this time. It was nice to have something mindless to do. It was like all the housekeeping she'd done back in her family's little motel on Earth, rocking from room to room with an MP3 player. Pity she hadn't been able to bring it when she had come to Middara.
Sorry,
happened to be
guys.
passing by the entrance of a nearby chamber when she caught a flicker of light from beyond the passageway. "Hold on!" she said out loud to herself, waved, and stepped out into the central hallway. Like much of the rest of the cave, this shaft was square with faded geometric patterns cut into the floor and walls. She grinned, drawing her weapon. The light was growing quickly, down from a direction they hadn't explored yet. Nightingale gripped her weapon tightly, preparing for a fight. Another few seconds and the light and footsteps resolved into a man, stooped with the weight of a heavy-looking sack. The man's armor was tattered, and he looked like he had just gone through a fight. In the faint light of his glowstone, the thin man looked triumphant. "Oh!" She lowered the weapon, striding casually into the hallway in front of him. "Thought you were a monster." "Nah," the man said, pointing back the way he'd come. "Our group just killed a tomb guardian back there. The thing was loaded with too much loot for us all to carry." He gave her a smug smile and continued, "This is my second trip, actually. Looks like we are doing better than the royalty is." Nightingale's smile faded. "Oh yeah?" she said, considering her options.
Okay, what that tone means is we have to make a check of some kind. It says Nightingale must make a decision. Extort the man for his extra loot. He was rude, and he also doesn't need it. And it says let the man pass unharassed. After all, he's earned it. Are we playing good guys? I think we're playing good guys. I think we're just going to let him pass, but that would be a shame, wouldn't it? I just hate to think that we're not going to get anything out of that, but you never know. Anyway, I do think that I do think we're going to let him go. I just don't think it's cool. She, remember Nightingale? She's trying to not be that haughty noble, right? So she's going to do the right thing, and she's going to step aside. So let's play that for you, and then we'll take a look at what happens when we go to step aside.
Step aside. Nightingale figured she couldn't just take his stuff. The man shoved his way past her, causing her to stumble. "The swag's mine," he said with a haughty laugh. Nightingale didn't argue, glaring at his retreating back. It wasn't as though they were supposed to fight the other teams for loot. She grunted, then made her way back to camp.
Okay, so now we have to go on to sleep tight. But first off, there is a reward here, so let's take a look and see what it is. I'm going to need some additional light, I believe. I can't really see clearly what that says. So I'm going to get out my flashlight on my camera, just so on my phone, so I can see it better. And we can all see it better. What's it say? What's the reward say? It says the party gains 5 points for their MAST grade. Okay, well, all right. We'll take it. 5 points for our MAST grade. I'm going to put it right here. These are all our score right now, and this is plus 5 points. That's pretty cool. I don't know what that's going to do for us in the end. I still don't know what this grade is going to mean to us, but we're scoring pretty well as far as I can tell. Next thing we're going to do is go to sleep tight. By the way, this is a massive story element, so we need to be prepared for that. I think this whole episode might just be telling the story, because here's the page of it, and it looks like there's a couple breaks in here, but we're just going to get the app out and play it for your pleasure. Let's get this done. And continue on. So we're going to do sleep tight. Maybe. If the app chooses to. Sometimes it doesn't want to do what I ask it to do. Okay, well, here's what we do. We close... So, guys, the app's in beta. I'm just going to remind everybody of that. So don't take this as the final result of the app. Okay, even though the voice acting's great.
Step aside.
Nope, wrong one. Sorry.
She couldn't just take his
We're going to
stuff.
be on sleep tight. There we go.
Sleep tight. The little room heated much better than the vast chamber from the night before. And soon enough they were all toasty around the fire. The conversation was less subdued than it had been the night before. Everyone looked significantly more tired. "I'm not really sure what I'll do when I graduate," Rook was saying. "I mean, I couldn't just go back to the farm after spending all this time at the Institute." "What? You don't like farming?" A little cloud floated around Zeke, mingling with the smoke from the fire. He hadn't put down his cigarette since finishing his meal. Rook shrugged. "Nothing wrong with farming. My parents are good people and they do important work, but..." He paused. "We're not getting older anymore. And I'm no Cincinnatus. I think if I had to stay on a farm for eternity, I'd go insane. My idea of Elysium is a little less pastoral and more actually doing something." Nightingale chuckled and nodded, even though she had no idea who Cincinnatus was. "Well, I've got a suggestion," she grinned, resting one hand on the weapon at her side. "When I graduate, I'm going to join the Demiurge. You know, Elenia's special forces." "Good try. Let's go again."
Uh-oh. I messed that up. Totally messed that up.
Sleep tight. The little room heated much better than the vast chamber. Every day's an adventure after that.
There you go.
"Why don't you join too?" Her smile widened. "I've got a friend who's already in. I'm sure he could put in a good word for you, with the way you fight." "We'll see," Rook said dismissively. "My parents are expecting me to help out on the farm." "Farming is so lame," Nightingale said, tossing her legs up onto a nearby rock. "We all have our roles," Rook said flatly. There were a few moments of silence then, as each waited for the others to speak. Nightingale turned slowly to look at Remy. "What about you? What are you going to do with your shiny new citizenship? You're the only one without familial expectations, right?" Remy looked away, shifting uncomfortably. I don't really know." They waited, but Remy didn't elaborate. "We shouldn't give up adventuring after this." Nightingale tried to look as reassuring as she could. "If we're here, we might as well enjoy Middara's advantages. We could live forever exploring ancient ruins, rescuing artifacts of unimaginable power, saving the world." Zeke looked doubtful. "Can't live forever if you get eaten by monsters." "Like that would happen." Nightingale raised her twig-like arms and flexed. "Have you seen these guns?" "Yeah, we'll see." Zeke rolled his eyes. "There's still one more day left in the MAST. Plenty of time to find something big and hungry enough. They'd probably have to eat 5 of you to fill up, though. Or 1 rook, Nightingale smiled. Rest came easier the second night, though Nightingale awoke a little sore from all the walking and fighting. They didn't stay long. Another breakfast of trail rations, and it was back to the cave for their last day of the MAST. It was a little annoying how their travel distance each day was restricted, bookended with impassable hallways and convenient campsites. Even less faithful to adventuring was the regular presence of the bellicose cubes. Nightingale doubted very much that she would ever see one in any of Alinia's ruins. She couldn't wait for the next fight, but there was no bellicose cube as they proceeded. Confused, Nightingale glanced around the cavernous chamber. That's strange. Nightingale kept walking forward. I don't see a bellicose cube. You think we're almost done? I was really hoping to fight a couple more monsters before we finished. That shouldn't be the case, Rook replied. They didn't want any of us to get seriously hurt. Nightingale skipped further into the darkness. If Rook was right, there had to be another bellicose cube nearby. Behind her, Rook stooped and studied the ruined remains of a silver basin. He scowled and looked back up. We'd better be careful. It looks like something happened to the cube. I doubt that the proctors would have intended this to happen. As he said this, Nightingale screamed. Rook spun around to see her being charged by a huge stone monster. It hit Nightingale with a boulder-like fist, sending her sprawling near a treacherous gap in the cavern's floor. The creature advanced on her, threatening to crush her beneath its massive weight. Nightingale held her weapon up in a vain attempt to block it, but it was futile. Nightingale! Rook yelled as he darted across the room, his huge frame pounding with desperate fury as he rammed into the creature. He knocked it aside moments before its massive stone arms came down on Nightingale. Rook pulled at Nightingale's shirt, yanking her to her feet as the monster began to rise again. Run! We can't fight this without a bellicose cube! Rook turned and the group sprinted into darkness. Eventually they came to a stop, panting heavily and hoping they were safe. Oh boy, Nightingale said, shaking her hands to wash away the adrenaline coursing through her. That was exhilarating! Exhilarating? Remy caught up to them nearby, recuperating from the sprint. You almost got turned into a Nightingale pancake. Nightingale nodded and looked back the way they had run from. What was that thing anyway? I think it was an Earth Lua. It was either not supposed to be here, or perhaps they planned on us having that bellicose cube intact. In either case, we're okay now, Rook grumbled. Nightingale burst out laughing and turned to Rook. You just saved a princess in distress! So cliché! I guess I did, Rook said, smiling. I'm glad you're all right. Thanks to you. Nightingale walked up beside him and her hand shook a little as she slapped him on the back. I should have noticed that wasn't just a pile of rocks. Rook relaxed. No big deal. That's why you never adventure alone, right? Nightingale smelled tobacco a few seconds before Zeke stepped up behind her and gave her a look of relief. Good work. Let's make sure nothing like that happens again, though. Nightingale nodded and the group made their way back into the dark. They continued on for what felt like hours. Nightingale purposely stayed at the front, determined to prove she wasn't afraid, even after the close call with the Earth Lua. Eventually she heard something strange coming from up ahead. Hey, I hear voices! Nightingale couldn't keep her tail from swinging about behind her in excitement as she skipped forward. Remy kept up, her weapon held close. You think we made it to the end? Rook's voice came from behind her, sounding matter-of-fact. Not yet. That isn't how the MAST works. Every team has got to go through the Gauntlet, and we haven't seen it yet. Oh, she blushed, wings drooping as she slowed a little, falling behind the rest of the team. The room was quite large, at least 50 feet across. Other teams milled about in nervous-looking groups, keeping mostly to themselves. Zeke pointed towards the front of the room where a group of uniformed proctors waited by the door. Let's see what's up, he muttered, striding purposefully towards the front of the room. Some of the other students looked like they'd done worse than their team had. There were lots of little wounds and hasty bandages, but also breaks and untreated gashes and tears. One young man kept himself standing only with the aid of a makeshift splint and walking stick, while another group had one of its members resting between them badly wounded. Guess we did pretty okay after all, Nightingale found herself thinking, following just behind Zeke. The men standing by the door all nodded respectfully to them. Lord Zhang, Princess Arson, a spindly proctor with white hair stepped forward to address them. Glad you made it. What's going on? Zeke gestured behind them at the crowd. The proctor lowered his head deferentially. You've reached the Gauntlet, the last stage of the MAST. Each team must survive a game section of the dungeon, so you're sent through one at a time. If you'd like your team moved ahead in the queue... No! Zeke and Nightingale answered together in the same exasperated tone. Zeke was the one who continued, We'll wait our turn with everyone else. As you wish, my lord. We'll call for you when it's time. They left without another word, quickly finding Rook through the crowd. You were right, Zeke grumbled. It's the Gauntlet. Rook nodded, satisfied. It was in the study guide. What exactly is a gauntlet? I guess they don't expect us all to share a glove, Remy asked, chuckling to herself. Nobody laughed, though it was Rook who answered. It's different for every graduating class, so it's hard to be sure. It's the thing they wanted us to be prepared for most, in case some of the groups were really clever or lucky. The gauntlet is the same for everyone, so every graduate will be ready for... He shrugged. Whatever. It's usually the hardest part. After what we've been through? Nightingale gave Remy an encouraging pat. I'm sure it'll be nothing. We've got this. 2 years of lectures, 2 years of weapons practice and learning magic. She looked up as the heavy oak door opened and another team was ushered inside. That's our ticket to the outside world. To citizenship. To the demiurge, she muttered to herself privately. Eventually, the white-haired proctor approached them. If you're ready, he said, his voice as deferential as before. It's time. The crowd was mostly gone, leaving only the most injured groups behind. We're ready, Nightingale answered before any of the others could object. Let's do this!
Okay. Well, that was a pretty beefy story segment. We're about to hit the Gauntlet, guys. This is the last bit of the MAST before our heroes graduate and become citizens of Middara. Now, there's a tip here. I just want to read it to you before we continue on to the Gauntlet Chamber. It says, tip, want to know more about the world of Middara? Check out succubuspublishing.com for more lore and background info. And so I wanted to let you know that if you go to their YouTube's channel, Succubus Publishing YouTube channel, there is a bunch of lore information, how to play is up there, pretty cool stuff, on top of all of us guys that are doing some really fun, cool videos for this. You can go check out all that stuff too. So I would highly recommend it. There's a ton of lore. If you really want to get into this world and this setting, go check that out. But for now, we're going to head on to the Gauntlet. All right, here we are at the Gauntlet Chamber 1. That means there's more than one Gauntlet Chamber. It says it's underground, and I'm going to read this to you because I don't think we need to play it on the app. It's just a short bit. I don't know if it is on the app. As you enter the double doors that lead to the Gauntlet, you are surprised to find a serene chamber with a large pool of water inside. The water begins swirling at first, and then it slowly rises and takes shape. It forms into two female figures. They stare at you with glowing eyes. After a moment, the monsters scream, summoning balls of glowing water in their hands. Uh-oh, that's our fight right there. Okay, so the win conditions are that we have to get to the blue exit. Blue exit is right here, and we have a new enemy. Wish these were painted. I got to get them painted. By the way, Baron at Meet at Table does have his painted, and they look really good. These are Water Lua, and there are two of them here. We're going to take a look at their abilities. So this is the Water Lua card. You can see the really pretty artwork for them right there. And they're an intelligent enemy. It says Arcane. When making an attack against a Water Lua, shields, books, and stars rolled during that attack roll are considered non-existent. Oh my gosh. Wow, so it's hard to beat them with combat. We're going to have to be as clever as we can. Gore Shot's going to become a very valuable thing from Nightingale right here. H2O. The Water Lua is not affected by Water Train and may never choose to leave it. Oh, so they can't leave the Water Train. The Water Lua never provokes break attacks. If removed from water movement, if removed from water, movement it makes must be towards the water. When a Water Lua affects an opponent with a spell or hits an opponent with an attack, place a water token on the space the target occupies. So they're going to fill the chamber with water. Okay, let's look at their AI right here. It says, is there a figure with an SOI, that's Sphere of Influence, with an effect. So that means they have to have some kind of effect on them already. It says, remove the negative effect from an ally with an SOI, otherwise remove a positive effect from an opponent and continue down. So this is going to be a nasty one. Is there more than one opponent adjacent? If so, make an attack against that opponent with the most damage. Then place a water token on all adjacent spaces. Then move to the farthest space possible from the opponent. If there's an opponent with an SOI, Sphere of Influence, which means 4 spaces, cast a spell 6, prioritizing the opponent with the lowest conviction value. I think all our characters have the same conviction value, with the exception of one. I think it's a bonus from an item. I'll have to check that. Okay. Deal magic damage equal to 2 plus the difference rolled, then their failed conviction check. Wow, that could be rough. Could take us down. Can it move and attack an opponent within range 6? Okay. So move to be up to range 6 of the nearest opponent, then make a range 6 attack against an opponent with the lowest armor value. Books add +1 to the roll, and stars heal 2, so we even have to worry about healing on this. Its conviction is a white and a teal die. Its casting die is white. You can see it when it doesn't attack, it uses 2 purple dice, and then that's its stats: 12 health, 9 armor, 6 movement, 0 defense. Okay, or 9 health rather, or yeah, 9 armor but 0 defense. 9 defense, 0 armor. There we go. I got it right. It just took me a couple tries. Okay. Now, what we have to do to get started, I'm going to remove the book, the big mighty book that tells our story as we enter into the Gauntlet Chamber 1. I have already done a couple things. I'm just going to tell you what they are real quick. I have already set up the combatant loot deck, okay? And in addition, one of my, or actually more than one, a couple of viewers pointed this out to me. There's a passive ability in all these magic arrows that says that this card is drawn as a reward from an adventure mechanic. You may redraw. So I did that. And I got back some of our gear. So, for example, I got back 2 knives for Remy to hold on to. And let me see, I think I got, no, I didn't. I thought I got something back for him too, but I didn't. Oh, yeah, I did. I take it back. I got him a hyper energy HP potion back. And also, I got a juice box and a dagger back for Zeke. And so that way we're in a little better shape going into this. I redrew those arrows because we can't use them. We don't have anything to use arrows with. And the last thing I have to do is shuffle up. Got the water loas in there. Shuffle up our initiative cards. And also I want to point out that in this setup, the blue exit's here. There's also a blue totem here, but this is blocking it, so I won't be able to see it until I come around here somewhere if I choose to do that. I don't have to. I don't know what that thing is. But anyway, this is blocking terrain right here, so we'll have to get around it to get line of sight. And I don't know if I want to bother. I basically have to come over here. We'll see how it goes with the water loas. Anyway, I'm shuffling up the initiative cards. And I have a feeling these 2 things are going to be pretty darn nasty. And they're in water, and they spread water around, which means, guess what, guys? No dodging if we're stuck in the water. So we got to get within range of... Someone told me that the gore shot is SOE, which means a range of 4, but I don't... Or SOI, rather. Sphere of Influence, but I don't remember seeing that anywhere. And this, someone knows where the rules are. Maybe it was pointed out to me. I'm not sure. But anyway, let's get this going. What do we got first? Oh, no. The water loas are going to be first up. Next up is going to be Zeke. Next up will be Remy. Next up will be Rook. And then following up last is the one with the spell that can actually do the damage. And that is Nightingale. Wow, that's going to be rough, guys. But we're not going to actually fight them in this one because we just spent like 20 minutes telling a story. So we're going to wait until the next episode, guys. And just so you know, how we're going to play this out is we're going to have to fight these guys. I would like to draw them closer to the edge of the water so my characters can continue to dodge. But remember, they're going to stay 6 away. And with the exception of a couple of items, we really can't be 6 away from them. So there's a couple spots that are useful here. You see these 2 locations here? Those are little islands, but once we're attacked by these things and they spread the water around, those are going to go away too. So I'm a little concerned about that. We can get a little closer to them over here maybe, but then we might expose this token. I don't know what it does, but it's going to make me nervous. So strategically, I think we got to draw them in, and that means right now, where we're starting from, we will draw them in because we're more than 6 away, so they're going to have to move to attack. And that would be this one here. Can it move and attack within range 6? Well, their movement is 6, so they have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they have to get up to here to attack us. And since they're going first, they're going to end up doing that. Now, here's the cool thing, because they can. Yeah, they're going to attack Rook and Zeke probably right off the bat. Maybe it depends on what that says. I got to look and see if we're up to range 6. and then make, yeah, so lowest armor value, well, that's going to be, they're all 9, with the exception, yeah, they're all 9 armor value. Or defense, rather. So armor value. Well, that won't be Rook, that's for sure. So it's probably going to be Zeke, I think. Could be one of the other two, which means they might even have to be closer, because since I put Remy and Nightingale behind Zeke and Rook there. So strategically, we have some interesting things go on. I'm also going to clear up the table a bit. Just make sure we have all the space we need for what we have to do. And we will be taking on these water loas in part 1, chamber 1 of the Gauntlet. We just need to get to the exit. And I have a feeling in a Gauntlet usually means you get to do it without healing, so I got to be very careful because I want to make sure we get to the other side safely. Try not to use my mend ability for Rook and see if we can get to that. I just don't know yet, but you know, if someone calls it a Gauntlet, usually pretty bad. So we're going to try and take it little step at a time. Can't be patient though. We're not on a time. We're not on a ticker on this. Like there's no time clock, but if we can't get past those, in fact, we don't really even have to defeat the water lows. It doesn't say that. We just have to get to the exit. And it may be that that's the ticket. And when it says, an adventurer ends their turn on the blue exit. So we could literally run by them. Maybe that's the tactic. Because what we could do if we want, now I don't know about this. This could be good or bad. But remember, we're in a Gauntlet. What we could do is, and by the way, post some feedback for me since we haven't started this fight yet. Would it be a cool thing to do to have, these guys are going to go first and just have Remy go right by him toward the exit. Only need one adventure to get there. And if we win, which just means we land on the blue exit, I can get her there flying without any hindrances at all. Just blow right past the 2 Loas. That's a thought, guys. I mean, there is nothing in other than some loot into it. Oh, and we get some bonuses though if we kill them. Right? It said if we get 2 points for each combatant killed and -5 points for each defender defeated. So, yeah, we would lose 4 points if we don't kill them. Don't know if that's worth it or not. We'll have to see. Good thing is, I think what we can do is get... Well, you tell me. I think we can get Remy in position to do that if we need to. If we're starting to take a beating, just get the heck out. We'll try and see how it goes. But tell me what you think. What would be the best strategy going into this, knowing what these guys have? Now, we got the daggers. Remember, they're not going to... They're going to... just do damage. That's awesome. So we don't have to worry about them. We can literally lay waste to these guys, just try and get some damage on them. We have Gore Shot from Nightingale. We could kill them, but we don't have to. So just keep that in mind and let me know what your thoughts are on how we should manage this battle. So guys, thanks so much. Take care. I hope to see you in the next episode, and I'll see you soon. Bye.